You are not choosing badly because you want a bad life. You keep taking the candy now, skipping the staircase later, and then you call yourself inconsistent, lazy, or weak. One more scroll, one more snack, one more tab, one more night of delay. The task stays open. The future you care about gets quieter. This is present bias and delay discounting. Your brain overprices what's near. It treats a small reward now like it matters more than a larger reward later. In the first minute, that is the whole problem. Now wins. The phone is in your hand before you decide to reach for it. The message is already open. The bag of chips is already gone. The mechanism is already on the table. What you do not know is that this is not a character flaw. It is a value system doing what it was built to do. 10 minutes of comfort can outrank 10 years of payoff inside the decision system. That does not mean the choice is good. It means the scale is being set by the wrong time frame. So why does the brain keep overvaluing the small reward that is right here? Delayed discounting is a normal decision pattern. In behavioral economics, people repeatedly value delayed rewards less than immediate ones. The brain does the same in neural terms. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex helps compute value, and the striatum helps drive approach toward rewards. Together they compare options in the moment. The value signal rises when a reward is close. It drops when the reward is delayed. That is why a snack, a message, or a video can beat a goal that matters more later. The famous marshmallow task by Walter Mischel showed that children often struggle when an immediate treat is visible and a delayed reward is only promised later. The popular version oversimplifies that work, but the basic pattern is real. Visible, immediate rewards are harder to resist. This system evolved for a world where tomorrow was uncertain. Food, safety, and help nearby mattered more than plans far ahead. In daily life, that same system now runs on taps, alerts, and one-click access. It is not built to ignore immediate relief. It is built to track it fast. The cost is that the future loses value before you ever finish thinking about it. Once a brain learns that an immediate reward ends discomfort faster, it starts to repeat that choice. That is basic reinforcement learning. Each time you pick the small relief now, the decision system gets another sample showing that quick comfort worked. The habit is not only in the body. It is also in the valuation circuit. A cue appears. Your phone lights up. The snack is visible. The task feels hard. The brain updates toward the option that lowers tension first. That is why present bias is so easy to train in modern life. The environment gives constant near rewards. Notifications, feeds, instant food, autoplay, delivery in minutes. Each one asks for almost no waiting. Each one gives a fast value signal. The brain was not built for this density of small, immediate payoffs. It was built for intermittent rewards in a physical world where effort, distance, and time had clear costs. Modern platforms compress those costs. They remove friction. They keep the reward close. That makes the near option feel unusually valuable, again and again. This is where self-blame usually starts. A person notices they can delay work, exercise, sleep, or planning, and they assume their willpower is the problem. But the record points to a valuation problem first. The brain is not asking, what matters most in 10 years? It is repeatedly answering, what reduces strain right now? That is why a small comfort can keep beating a larger goal. The long-term cost builds quietly. Work gets pushed. Sleep gets shorter. Attention gets fragmented. The future becomes harder to serve because today keeps taking the first vote. In the research literature, this is the core of temporal discounting. The farther away a reward is, the less weight it carries in choice. The next question is how that value signal is built inside the brain, and why delay can make it fade so quickly. The lesser-known detail is that the discount is not fixed. It gets steeper when the brain is under load. In delay discounting tasks, people choose the smaller sooner option more often when they are tired, stressed, hungry, or carrying too many decisions. That is not a moral collapse. It is a state change in valuation. The task used in the famous marshmallow study was never a clean measure of character. It measured waiting under a very specific setup, a visible treat, a child alone, and a promise that later depended on staying engaged with a room full of temptation. The human version is easy to picture. A child stares at one marshmallow. An adult stares at an inbox with one urgent reply, one neglected bill, one tab that keeps calling. Different age, same near-term pull. And there is a detail almost everyone gets wrong here. The future is not being rejected because it has no value. It is being priced as less immediate. In the moment, the brain is doing a quick trade between strain now and relief now. Sleep loss, stress, and overload narrow that trade window. The future becomes abstract, and the smallest relief wins. That is why the same person can plan well after rest and then fall apart at 11 p.m. with a dead phone battery and an open laptop. The mechanism is state-dependent. This also fits the bigger picture. A brain shaped in an uncertain environment had to privilege what was close, visible, and available. But the modern world keeps throwing cheap instant rewards at that system. Alerts, feeds, delivery, autoplay. Variable rewards train the brain to keep checking because the next hit might be there. The result is not just a bad day. It compounds. A skipped task becomes a missed deadline. A shortened night becomes more fatigue tomorrow. A small relief now starts charging interest across the week, then across years. That is where it stops being about discipline and starts being about identity. Repeated choices teach a story. I do not follow through. I always cave. I am the kind of person who leaves things half done. But the deeper pattern is simpler. The brain keeps choosing the highest immediate value it can see. If that story hardens, the future self starts to feel like someone else. Researchers call this temporal self-discounting. The later self is treated like a stranger, so caring for them feels optional in the moment. The unfinished course, the abandoned gym bag, the half-written plan each become evidence for the same label. So the real question is not why you care less. It is this. What changes the value signal enough that the future can compete with now? The rewire works because the brain does not answer only to intention. It answers to what is easiest, closest, and most real at the moment of choice. That is why willpower alone fails under present bias. The immediate reward has less friction. The future reward has more steps. When you change the environment, you change the cost map the brain sees before it decides. This is where neuroplasticity matters. The brain learns the pattern it repeats. If the fast option is always one tap away and the good option is hidden behind setup, the present gets reinforced. If you reverse that layout, the circuit gets different evidence. Make the helpful future action visible, prepared, and easy to begin. Make the instant comfort slightly harder to reach. The goal is not punishment. It is changing availability. Then bind the future self to concrete cues. Write the first action for tomorrow before the day ends. Put it on paper. Put it on the counter. Tie it to a time and place. That turns an abstract later into a specific next step. The brain treats specific cues as more immediate than vague intentions. In plain language, you are helping the future arrive sooner in the mind. This is also how identity shifts the circuit. When the cue is I am someone who starts at 7:30 in the kitchen, the choice is no longer a fresh argument every morning. It becomes a repeated role. The reward is not only the task itself. It is evidence that the future self is real. Over time, the system stops treating that self like a stranger and starts giving them more weight. That is the practical mechanism. Reduce friction, add prompts, repeat the same cue action loop until the brain prices the future less like a rumor and more like an event. That is why the next step is not more effort. It is a cleaner choice architecture that makes the later reward easier to see and easier to begin. Start with the environment. Put the candy, the phone, or the feed a little farther away. Put the work starter a little closer. Keep the laptop open to the exact document. Keep the shoes by the door. Keep the first page of the course on the desk. Reduce the number of decisions between the cue and the good action. The brain is far more likely to choose what is already in front of it. Then add the identity cue. At the end of the day, write tomorrow's first move in one sentence. The time, the place, and the action. Not a life plan. One next action. At 7:30, open the document and write the first paragraph. That makes the future self concrete. You are not negotiating with a vague promise. You are handing a specific instruction to a later version of you. Then repeat the same arrangement until it becomes familiar. Familiarity lowers the need for debate. The cue starts the action before the discounting system can overprice the near reward. That is the whole repair. Not force, not self-hate, better access to the future. So return to the opening scene. The candy was not stronger. It was just closer. The staircase was not worthless. It was too far away in the moment. Your brain overprices what is near, but that price can be changed by what you place in reach and what you tell yourself you are becoming. The small comfort only wins when it is easier to see than the larger payoff. That means the problem was never that you were broken. It was that your value system was reading distance as importance. When the future is made concrete, the brain stops treating it like a stranger. If this changed how you see your inconsistency, the next story goes deeper into how to make the future feel closer. You are not lazy. You are a person whose future can be made visible. That is a different problem, and it has a different fix.